Are you sus about sus chords? Watch this video and give the 7th suspended 4th chord a try. You just heard a C 7th suspended 4th chord. They are written in notation with a number 7, the letters SUS, and the number 4 after the chord letter. You may also see them referred to as 7 sus 4, dominant sus 4, or dominant 7th sus 4 chords. Now you might be asking, how do I construct the 7 sus 4 chords? 7th suspended 4th chords have 4 notes: 1st, 4th, 5th, and flat or minor 7th. These numbers show the notes that make up the 7 sus 4 chord. They are also referring to the intervals that are within the chord. It is like a formula or recipe that you can apply to generate 7 sus 4 chords. Let's look at an example to clarify this. The C major scale has the following notes: C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. The first note is C, third note is E, and fifth note is G. These notes create a C major chord. The 7th note is B. If you drop this note by a half step or semitone, then you get to B flat. Add this flat or minor 7th note to the C major chord, and you have a C dominant 7th chord. If you remove the 3rd note from C major and replace it with the 4th note F, then you get a C sus 4 chord. And if you do the same thing with the C dominant 7th chord, then you get a C 7th suspended 4th chord. Suspended chords are neither major nor minor. They don't have a major or minor third within them. The lack of a minor or major third in the chord creates an open sound, while the dissonance between the 4th and 5th creates tension. Dominant chords feature as the 5 chord in major and minor key songs. They create a tension and expectancy that is resolved when the next chord is the tonic 1 chord. This is because the notes in the dominant chord are close enough to the 1 chord notes that they really pull the listener's ear towards the tonic chord. Dominant 7th chords also contain a tritone interval within them, which has an unstable sound that wants to resolve. The dominant 7th sus 4 chords bring the major third up half a step or semitone to a 4th. This breaks up the tritone and therefore gives the 7 sus 4 a mellower feel with less pull to the root. If you're using them diatonically, which means strictly in a key, then 7 sus 4 chords can feature where minor chords are used, as well as the 5 chord. This means chords 2, 3, and 6 in major keys, and 1, 4, and 5 in minor keys. I'll show you some examples now using HookPad. There are links in the description if you want to get HookPad and follow along or to learn more. I'll use the key of C major for the examples, but these principles apply to any major key. In this first example, I'll demonstrate the 7 sus 4 chord in its most widely used position as the 5 chord, heard before the 1 tonic chord. This is how you would typically use standard dominant 7th chords, and as such are a good starting point for 7 sus 4 chords. Listen to the difference between them here. Because they only have a note difference, a common chord change is to move from 5 7 sus 4 to 5 dominant 7th. Here's how that sounds in the previous progression. As I mentioned earlier, you can also use the 7 sus 4 chords with the minor chord root notes from major keys. This is because you are only changing a single note from the minor 7th chord and are therefore still strictly in the key. So in the key of C major, you can use D7 sus4, E7 sus4, and A7 sus4 chords. In this next example, I'll play a progression twice. It will utilise the 2, 3, and 6 minor 7th chords before finishing on the 5 dominant 7th chord. In the second repeat, all of these chords will be played as 7 sus4 chords. Listen to the difference this brings, providing an open emotive sound and highlighting the versatility of this chord. You may have heard that the fourth note I've been using is also known as an 11th note. This explains why the dominant 11th chord contains all of the dominant 7th sus4 notes within it. For example, you know that C7 sus4 has the notes C, F, G and B flat. C dominant 11th has the notes C, E, G, B flat, D and F. Despite these chords sometimes being used interchangeably, they are distinct chords as you can see. If you want to learn more about dominant 11th chords, then check out our video. In this next example, I'll split the 4th and 8th bars in two, using the 5 chord 7 sus4 as a preview of the 5 dominant 11th chord to come. Listen to the dense sophistication that the dominant 11th has. Seven sus4 chords are also great for key changes. This is because they are neither major nor minor and can therefore provide some ambiguous cover for a modulation. I'll give you a simple example now, but for a deeper dive into key changes, check out our playlist. I'll start in the key of C major and have a target key of D major. Look at the chords in both of these keys. A typical technique would be to look at any chords the keys have in common and use them for the modulation. So in this example, E minor and G major are in both keys, but you know that the 5 dominant chord to 1 tonic chord change provides tension and resolution that can really establish a key. So being able to use A major to D major would be great for the planned key change. Unfortunately, A major is not in the key of C major, but as you learnt earlier, 7 sus4 chords can be used as the 2, 3, 6 and 5 chords. So if I make the 6th chord in the key of C major into a 7 sus4, it becomes a 7 sus4. This is the same as the 5 7 sus4 chord in the target key of D major. By using the 7 sus4, we now have a perfect bridge between the keys, without using any notes from outside of the respective scales. Listen to how smooth this key change is. The foundation of the 7 sus4 chord is the dominant 7th. Learn about this and more 7th chords with the playlist on screen.